Hello and welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I'm Ian.
And I'm Gary. And today we're going to review and discuss Alien from director Ridley Scott, which came out in 1979. Ian, why don't you give us the synopsis for Alien?
Well, the story follows the Nostromo, a commercial freighter travelling through space with its 7 crew members. It diverts to a planet to investigate a transmission. Once the crew land there, one of them ends up getting something attached to his face, and they bring it back aboard their ship. This creature then breaks free and grows into a larger creature and starts to hunt down each one of the crew members.
This is technically, or just when you look at it, a haunted house horror movie in space.
Yeah.
It is essentially a small band of people that cannot leave their environment, and they are trapped with a creature that is going to pick them off one by one. This is 1979, and so, horror tropes are still pretty fresh at the time. Everything's still pretty new.
Right.
And when this film came out, it terrified everybody.
Just, what can you say about Alien? I mean, before we get in, the saga, let's just start with this film. It's just so amazing. That opening title sequence, just the vast vista of space and the white lines appearing here and there to just over the titles of the characters to just reveal the word Alien. And from 1979 to 2015, that word just brings an image of teeth and acid for blood for me. It's just terrifying.
Absolutely. I mean, even by today's standard, how many alien films are there? Whether it's alien invasions or alien creatures or alien monsters or alien encounters, whether they're peaceful, friendly, whether they're hostile, or whether, whatever type.
Yeah.
Whenever you still say the word alien, you think of the xenomorph.
Yes. Yes. And I just love the fact that you just have these 7 characters. You have Tom Skerritt playing Dallas. You have Ian Holm playing Ash. Veronica Cartwright as Lambert. Yaphet Kotto as Parker. Harry Dean Stanton as Brett. John Hurt as Cain. And to just say the name, Sigourney Weaver as Ripley. These 7 characters, they're your crew. And you follow this crew around as they go to this planet. And if it's the first time you've seen this film, you don't know what to expect. But if you're a fan like us and you've been following this film for years, when you're just watching them wake up in the cryo chambers, the lights are all flickering on and everybody's just kind of happy and like, oh, are we home yet? No.
I love the slow introduction to the film, and like you've said, the slow title as it comes up on screen,
Yeah.
The music as it comes in, and you get to the cockpit view of the ship, and you see the monitors come to life.
Yeah.
But you see all the little things in the background that are still moving. You can see all of the personal effects of the crew members sort of dashed around everywhere. The computer lights come on, and they are reflected off the helmets of the 2 pilot seats. It's kind of strange because it keeps cutting back and forth, but for me it just kind of shows the lifelessness of the ship right now.
Yeah.
The only thing that's come to life is the computer, and then of course it then turns all the lights on and wakes up the crew. You don't really know how long they've been asleep for at this point. You don't really know. Well, you know that it's a mining vessel, but you soon get to learn who the crew are through the banter back and forth. You soon realise, you're the pilot, you're the science officer, you're the captain, and you guys must be the mechanics. And you know what I like about it is that they're all having breakfast and yapping and joking, and they're all smoking on a spaceship. Kind of don't expect to see that right now, but that's why it kind of got the name Truckers in Space.
Still with us, Brett?
Right.
Yeah. I feel dead. Anybody ever tell you look dead, man?
You just got these phenomenal actors, and at the start, midpoints of their careers.
At the starts of their careers, I mean, you want to get into a little bit of trivia here for you. I mean, Sigourney Weaver, whenever you hear the name, you instantly think of Ellen Ripley, the actress from the Alien franchise. Despite the fact that she's done a lot of other award-winning work, it all comes back to her as Ripley. But the part of Ripley was originally intended to be a male part.
Yeah.
Which, of course, would again go against traditional horror tropes where you'd have a male lead. But it was then changed into a female. And they originally cast Veronica Cartwright as the role of Ripley before Sigourney Weaver turned up and Ridley Scott was like, no, you are Ripley. And as we know, the rest is history.
Yeah, yeah. But this is it. The conversations, the banter, the whole build-up to landing on the planet is just epic in itself. You know, we've like already established, massively sci-fi, and it's brought on even more by the fact that you follow Dallas into the room with Mother. This is just a room made of blinking lights. You know, that's it. It's all prosthetic, all purposely built special effects throughout this whole film. No CGI, no blue screen or anything like that. It's just right. We need a room to emphasize that this is the core of the computer that's running this whole entire ship. So what do? We just plaster lights all over it and have it all blinking, and then have Tom Skerritt there in front of the computer just typing in the information. You know, this is the future, and they still type in.
Yeah, you can't audibly talk to the machine. Yeah, you've got to type in every question, and the machine won't talk to you either. They'll give you a text response, but at least the responses are short and to the point.
But that gets me as well. It's 1979. You know, this is the effects that they had at this point. But then watching it in 2015, watching it on Blu-ray, I sit there and I'm like, okay, I have seen better effects, but for this film, it really, really works.
I was blown away revisiting this film when it first came out on Blu-ray. I'll tell you, when I first got the Blu-ray for Alien, I intended to watch the entire quadrilogy, and instead watched Alien 1 4 times in a row. I watched it with just the music, I watched it with the commentary track, and then I just watched it again, because the film looks flawless. Every scene is meticulous. The walls, the padding, the personal artifacts, the posters in the background, the ornaments on the side. It looks lived in. It looks real. It looks like this ship is run down, that it has been inhabited, that it has done billions and billions of miles in space.
Yeah.
And it makes it believable. It feels like a real environment. It doesn't look like a set. These characters are believable because they banter back and forth. They feel very human. They don't feel like they're reading from scripts. And that's what makes everything feel so natural.
Yeah.
So that when things start to go or feel awry, it becomes very daunting for the audience.
Like what?
Seems she has intercepted a transmission of unknown origin. She got us up to check it out.
A transmission? Out here?
SOS. I don't know.
Human?
Unknown.
Well, I mean, they leave the ship. They take the Nostromo and they come down onto the planet, and that whole just landing.
The whole descent is
It harks back for me to 2001: Space Odyssey and Star Wars as well, with the whole close-ups of the miniatures, the underbelly of the ship, and just having all the weird slow angles. But then you're cutting back to the crew in their seats. They all know their jobs, and so I completely have faith in them that they all know exactly what they need to do to bring the ship down onto this hostile, unearthly planet.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And there's a pretty rough landing. When they land, they kind of crash land in a way. Apparently they get a hull breach and they lose a bunch of cells and fires break out on the cockpit, and all the sci-fi tropes sort of go into effect.
But it is quite chilling, that moment.
It really is. It's to do with the music and just the sound of the planet that they've landed on.
Yeah.
LV-426, as we would know, it just has that deathly hollow wind noise the whole time, and it's very eerie.
But that harks back to the fact, horror in space. You've got the wind blowing, there should be lightning and rain, and then they're like, oh, we'll crash. It's kind of like they've crashed their car on a highway somewhere, and they've just seen the little light in the distance. So 3 of them all decide to go outside, and you follow them around the planet. And again, an amazing set piece built, cutting back to the interior of the ship while you're following Ash, you know, studying them as they go out. And then they come across the derelict.
All right. Moving on to second position.
What is it?
Having that ship, even though it's a matte painting, I think
It is, yeah.
and certain models from particular angles, having that in the background of an already hellish planet that you've walked with them through, I'm just like, it's a haunted house. Do not go in there. Just don't. It looks evil. Nuke the site from orbit.
See, that ship, it does look so incredibly alien. Especially when you compare it to the only ships we have seen in this film so far, which is the Nostromo.
Yeah.
It looks man-made. It looks like it was built by humans. The derelict ship that they find, it doesn't look human at all. It's plain, you know, this is the first time humans in this universe have ever encountered another type of ship.
Yeah.
Yet they don't really have, I mean, they're curious about it, but there's no real, you know, sense of wonderment or amazement from any of the characters. It always sort of catches me a little bit off guard. They're like, well, let's just go for a wander and see what we find.
Well, Cain is very, very forward. He
Yeah.
volunteers to go out. He wants to keep going. He wants to investigate the ship. Ash, obviously, you know, wants to understand it a bit more because he's part of the science division.
Well, he also wanted to go out there himself.
Yeah, and then you have obviously Lambert and Parker and Brett who are just like, we don't want to be here. We want to go. So half the crew want to investigate. The other half of the crew want to go. And yet that leaves Ripley. And Ripley is kind of stood there wanting to do her job, but at the same time wanting to run and hide.
Yeah. So Ripley just decides she's going to sit in the cockpit and just listen in on the whole conversation and also try and decipher what this SOS or this broadcast was actually transmitting.
Right.
Because they do listen to it and they can't figure it out. They just say, well, it doesn't sound human. Hello and welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews. I'm Ian. And I'm Gary. And today we're going to review...
Good God. Doesn't sound like any radio signal I've heard.
So, whilst they're exploring the ship, they see all of the walls are just covered in some kind of secreted resin. And so they go wandering through the bowels of this ship. And then they enter into a great big chamber with a creature of some kind inside a giant chair, it would appear, in the centre of the room. This would go on to be known as the Space Jockey, to which really has no history, no origin, no explanation, just the fact that it appears that this creature is melded into this chair in its skeletal form, and Dallas points out that it has what appears to be a puncture in what we would assume is a chest cavity.
Yeah.
Bones had been outward, like he exploded from inside.
I wonder what happened to the rest of the crew.
And then they decide to carry on wandering some more and find what would appear to be an acid opening in the floor. It just looks like a very burnt, scarred, open area.
Yeah.
So they decide to explore some more.
You're just looking at Cain at this point like, no, Cain, stop going in places. Stop touching stuff. And Cain's like, lower me down into this huge, vast area. The hold of the ship has always kind of caught me off guard.
Well, this is where you would believe that this is perhaps then a transport or a cargo ship.
Yeah.
Because of all of the eggs. It just seems like this is a transport ship for these eggs. And Cain decides to go wandering down there. And he's like, oh, well, there's this blue mist covering the eggs. But he does note that the temperature is way up in this room, so it's almost like an incubator, which is probably keeping all the eggs alive.
Yeah, yeah. And then he goes ahead and in one of the most iconic scenes in sci-fi horror, in cinematic history, he moves way too close to the egg. And you just hear that screech and this thing just launch itself at his face.
when you first had this film on VHS tape, it was so difficult to pause and go frame by frame. But nowadays, you can watch that and you can see the Facehugger and all of its gory sort of glory come up at the screen before it takes him out.
The film just gets better. I mean, like I said, it established how amazingly sci-fi this film is. Then you've had this horrific, fleshy attack. Then you get back onto the ship and you're seeing Cain there with this thing on his face. The first time you'd ever see somebody facehuggered. And like I said, half the crew are like, freeze him. Just freeze him. Get him out of the way because you're probably going to infect the rest of us. Ripley was adamant not to let this thing on board, and perfectly right to, with what's coming up. And Ash just goes, "Oh no, I want to investigate it. We need to help Cain." And you're just like, as a fan of the Alien series, you're just like, burn him right now.
If only they'd have listened to Ripley at that point, the entire Alien franchise wouldn't have existed. It would have just been dealt with if they'd just listened to her about the quarantine laws. Of course, Ripley continues to piss off pretty much the entire crew. She pisses off Dallas, Lambert, Ash. She upsets everybody.
She does. I realised this watching this. She pisses off absolutely everybody, and yet, weirdly enough, she's that character that everybody should be listening to because she's following it by the book. But as a first-time viewer, you don't realise that Ripley is the main hero. You're expecting Dallas to pick it up. You're expecting Parker to be the badass. Brett, not so much. He's kind of like the sidekick.
Right.
Whenever he says anything, you say right, Brett. You know that?
Right.
Lambert is just on edge. She's on edge. She's on edge from the moment she wakes up to the point we'll get to later. Ash is the one you should be worried about. He is way too calm. Ian Holm as Ash, obviously, everybody knows him now as Bilbo Baggins, but back then, he's just so cold and calculated. The whole medical procedure where he's keeping his eye on Cain, you wonder, you're thinking he's helping.
He seems absolutely fascinated with everything that's happened, and by all means you would be. This is the first time we've encountered an alien creature. It just seems though that it's incredibly hostile. Especially when the fact that it's wrapped itself around his face. I mean, this thing is a creature out of your nightmare, because it is half spider, sort of crab-like, and it has attached itself to your face. It's coiled its tail around your throat, and you can't really tell what it's doing until they look at the scanner, and it would appear you could see like this tube going all the way down his throat, and they believe that that's what's supplying him oxygen. However, it would appear that perhaps the alien facehugger is doing something else.
Yeah, again, just gets more brilliant. The fact that the pace just carries on at the slow, tender, motion that you've been following all the way through the film. And then Dallas gets the call. Something's happened to Cain. They go there and the thing's gone. And you're like, should it do that? Should it just, fall off and die? Well, yes, we will realise that it does fall off and die. And they just carry on. Right, we need to get out of here. We just need to get back into orbit, get off this goddamn planet. It's doing my head in. Everybody just gets into position. The ship takes off. And Cain wakes up.
How are you doing?
Oh, thanks, man. How you doing? Thank you. Terrific. Next silly question.
And you're thinking, oh, he looks okay.
He's just hungry.
He's just hungry. He's been asleep for a few hours. The thing's dead. Ash has got it. He's got his samples. He's dealing with it. Everybody's back in the ship. We're carrying on back to her. Tell you what, let's have one last meal.
Well, yep, they're going to get ready to go into cryosleep and sleep the rest of the way home. Which I do have a small issue with the scripting here.
Yeah.
Is the fact that they say that they're out in an unsort of charted star system. yet they are 10 months away from Earth. So they're going to sleep for 10 months, which means that they're going to be traveling at speeds that are unobtainable in the entire Alien franchise. They don't never travel that speed, which would also indicate that LV-426 isn't that far away from Earth.
Yeah.
So I have a small grievance with that idea. But at the same time, it doesn't matter. They're going into cryosleep. For them, it might be 10 months. For the real world, I don't know. It might be 10 years.
Yeah.
So they're all having dinner, and it recreates the opening scene after they've just woken up from cryosleep. And they're all eating and laughing and joking about what they would rather be eating. And then Cain starts to choke.
Yeah.
And something doesn't seem quite right. Everyone sort of rushes around him, except for Ash, that's just intently watching him, waiting almost for something to happen. That is just... It's unreplicatable.
No.
It is absolutely iconic. The Chestburster sequence from Alien is one of the most memorable entrances of a creature in film, and one of the most memorable deaths of a character in film. And it's coupled with the way they've done the effect, where the actor is half submerged underneath the table with the rest of the fake body, and the way that they set everything up, is that none of the actors knew what was going to happen. They had no idea what the creature was going to look like. They had no idea how the alien was going to make its appearance. They were just told to react. And the reactions you're seeing when the blood's spraying them in their faces is genuine.
Yeah.
And that's why the reaction works, your reaction to their reaction works, and that alien has just looked around the room and scartered off. And you're just like, holy shit.
That scene, I have seen... in the Alien saga, you will see more Chestbursters. I've seen parodies of the Alien in Spaceballs, and I'm sure at one point when I was younger, Butlins used it as an advert with a teddy bear. But it's just so amazing. And I, like the actors, was just shocked because I'd seen aliens turn up before, but I'd never seen something punch its way out of somebody's chest, leaving them bloodied and splattered half across the table, and then just skirt off. You know, because I'm sat there for the first time like, you need to kill that thing. Oh crap, yeah, it's got acid for blood.
See, I like the fact that... yeah. I just love that Parker grabs a pair of scissors to go and stab it, and Ash is like, no, you'll lose your hand.
Well, that's the thing. You need to kill this thing because it's gone now. And, you know, like I said, first time viewers, you probably won't realise this, but it gets bigger.
Well, the alien life cycle is pretty interesting in itself.
Yeah.
The fact that this new creature is born out of its previous host, which had to be incapacitated by another alien creature.
Yeah.
And when they were designing or coming up with a concept for the alien in this film, they were looking at the insect species for inspiration for something truly terrifying and distinctly alien. But they needed to give it an iconic look.
Yeah.
Something that sets it apart and will continue to set it apart for the rest of film. And who was the man to do this? H.R. Giger. He came up with... Well, he had already come up with hundreds of different designs in his own art collections, in artwork. Yes, all of his image is very sexualized, incredibly phallic. But that works for this alien creature because it literally is going to penetrate you. Whether it's through your throat or whether it's through your cranium with its inner mouth jaws.
His designs are just... good. If you've never had the chance, I suggest finding an art book by H.R. Giger and just skimming through his repertoire of just nightmare art.
It's beyond human imagining.
Yeah.
In some ways, you're looking at his artwork and thinking that he has created his own universe in his imagination that's truly terrifying.
And then you just take that and apply it to the inside of ships.
Yes.
You know, you make the walls of the hives, you make the eggs, you make the facehugger, you make the chestburster, and then the larger alien. And you have, just from a simple man's artwork, created what Ash would consider the perfect organism.
It truly is. And as we saw earlier, it has molecular acid for blood, enough to burn its way through several decks of the ship. And that was just a small spurt of the alien's blood. But now the small alien is loose on the ship. And we soon realize that the alien life cycle is pretty short. It has to be, because it sheds its skin incredibly fast. Within a matter of hours, Brett finds the dead skin of the alien on the floor, which instantly lets you know, like a snake, it's going to have shed its skin and increased its size.
Yeah, it's only a few hours, but the fact that this creature has been taken out of its environment, a made-up environment for it, and it's been taken aboard this ship, and as Ash would already say as well, is that it would just evolve to counteract the atmosphere that it's working in. So it's probably found itself in the deep recesses of the ship and then gone, right, I'm surrounded by lots of hostile life forms, I need to get bigger. And it does. And if you have seen the Alien films, I suggest watching the special effects for the guy who was wearing the suit, because you have to remember as well, you know, with all the prosthetic effects, it is just a guy in a suit.
Yes.
But what works is Ridley Scott's editing. Well, for the close-up shots of the alien, you have if you see the wide shots, it doesn't really work because the detail for the effects weren't really there. But having it close up, having the lights flashing,
very quick cutaways,
cutting back to the actor's reaction, then cutting back to the alien and having it turned or moved or did something. Brett's death is just, you're on edge all the way through.
I love the fact that when he's looking around for the cat at this point, Jonesy, and he's not aware of what the alien looks like. He's aware that the alien is going to have changed because he's found the dead skin. If you are a fan of the Alien franchise, you know exactly what the Xenomorph looks like. And even if you are a fan, you still might not notice it, but you see the alien clear as day just hanging there from the chains, swinging back and forth. Yet if you're not aware of what it is, you just think it's part of the ship, of some kind, until it moves. And it reveals itself by just dropping its tail down slowly, and then a few close-ups to its mouth and its inner jaws, quick close-up of his skull being crunched by the inner jaw, and then carted up into the rafters of the ceiling, into the air vents.
Yeah.
And this is where the versions of the film sort of alter. In 2002, a director's cut was released, and in the director's cut, Ripley and Parker come rushing in where Brett has been launched up and blood sprays down on Parker all over his face, which also indicates that he is now seen the creature. And in the very next clip, he's not covered in blood anymore, but he does report to Dallas that this thing was mean, pissed off, and that it was the size of a man. So that it has grown that quickly in a matter of hours.
Yeah, see, this the additional scenes that they added don't actually do anything for me. For the fact that I've seen Alien so many times and not needed the deleted scenes to keep the story going, the film just worked brilliantly. Adding in this extra scene, I prefer the scene without it, because I'm in the 79 theatrical version, you just have the close-up of Jonesy.
Yes.
And you hear the scream, and then it cuts to Parker. In this one, you have that whole part where they're kind of looking up, and then the blood's dropping down, and much like Psycho, you don't need the blood. You've already been shocked by the alien. You've already been shocked by the attack on Brett and the fact he's been pulled away. So leaving that shot on Jonesy just solidifies that this is just a scary, scary movie.
This son of a bitch is huge. I mean, it's like a man. It's big.
Cain's son.
So now they've realised that hunting it down on the ship isn't going to work, that it's big.
Yeah.
And they know now that the alien is running around in the air shafts. So Dallas comes up with the idea of sealing off all the shafts, one after another, luring the alien into an airlock, and venting it into space. Ash and Science Division be damned. We're going to kill this thing. Ripley volunteers. She's like, I'm going to go into the vents. Dallas is like, nope, I got this.
Yeah.
This is on me. Parker, make me a flamethrower. So in he goes. And he's got, a thrown together motion tracker, which Lambert's using somehow to detect movement through all those ventilation shafts.
Yeah.
Don't really understand the science there, where he says it can pick up changes in air microdensity, which means it can pick up the wind. Yet somehow this thing can now scan through multiple bulkheads and steel. And it doesn't.
We're
matter.
not picking it apart.
I'm nitpicking, but it's fine.
Yeah.
And this is a great sequence because we're really behind Dallas at this point. He's been calling the shots. He's a pretty compassionate guy. He just wants to go home as well and get paid. But he's taking it upon himself to go and trap the alien. And you're following him in there. And it is really dark, claustrophobic. And you just have Lambert on the radio constantly telling him it's getting closer. It's moving closer.
Yeah.
And Dallas is looking around. He's looking up. He's looking down, left, right. He's like, well, where is it? I can't see anything. And Lambert's like, it's right on top of you. Go now. Go now. And Dallas is still like, it's not here. And then before you know it, the alien is in the darkness right there. A very quick shot of the alien. And it's gone.
It's just brilliant. You've just gone from hostile alien planet to hostile alien ship. You've brought the hostile alien back onto your ship. You've realised that this hostile alien has gotten twice as, 3 times, 4 times as big. And your idea is to climb into a claustrophobic vent and hunt it down with a flamethrower? I'm crapping my pants at this point. I'm like, Dallas, no! Just get out of there and run. And you've got just the audio from Lambert, you the cut to Ripley and her looking all tense. Ash is obviously still cold and calculating, and you're getting a wee bit suspicious of him now. I just love that bit where he just climbs down the ladder and he just looks one way, and then it just pans forward, static.
And so the group now really starts to deteriorate. Parker's all pissed off. He's like, I'm just going to go out there and hunt it down.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Ripley starts yelling at him. Like, nope, it's time to blow the ship and get out of here. But then they realise there's not enough life pods in order for them all to escape. So they decide they're going to continue with the same plan Dallas had.
Yeah.
Except now that Ripley's in charge, she's going to go and get some answers from Mother, the ship's computer, as to what's going on. Once she gets in there, she asks the computer what's going on, and it says that the information's classified for science officer eyes only, for Ash.
Sneaky.
And then she overrides that and still finds out that the company has said that the crew is now expendable. Bring back this alien life form. That was the direct order for Ash. And it would then appear that the company already knew about LV-426, that the company already knew that there was something there, which is why Ash was planted in their crew the whole time. Yes, play along, go along on their mining expedition. And I'm like, why would they need a science officer to go on a mining thing? It doesn't really make much sense.
Well, it depends. I mean, obviously, if you go to other planets, you need somebody who understands all that kind of stuff, atmosphere and gravity and all those other things. Because obviously, I don't believe Dallas knows all the ins and outs of science. He's kind of like Kirk and Spock.
Yeah,
You know, you always need somebody there to analyse the stuff while you're piloting the ship. But again, just another brilliant moment. The fact that you realise that Ash has been working against them the whole way through. So every scene leading up to this point has just been a play. You know, he purposely sent them out there. Waved them off. He actually waved them off at one point. You know, he purposely brought it back on board. He purposely left Cain there to find out what the creature was doing. And after it was dead, knew that it had already delivered its egg.
There was a scene when he was looking through the microscope and Ripley comes in and is like, what the hell are you looking at? And he's like, oh, I don't know. Quickly turn off the monitor.
Yeah. That's it. You're just so suspicious. And it just... It builds up to a brilliant sequence where Ripley tries to escape from Ash, and Ash starts to get a little bit twitchy, and then he just starts beating on her, throwing her all around the room. You know, just gets it. First, I don't ever understand this bit where he grabs a magazine and tries to shove it down her throat.
I've never understood that either. I mean, he is an android, and as we've seen, he has superior strength.
Yeah.
Because with one hand, he manages to throw down Parker, and he looked like he was in agony when he gets crushed like that. And so, he just grabs... He could have just broke Ripley's neck. He probably could have just tore her head off with enough strength, but... I guess he was malfunctioning completely at this point.
That's
and so he just grabbed the nearest sort of available object, which turned into a magazine, scrolled it up, and then tried forcing it down her throat. I don't know whether he was trying to just suffocate her, or whether he was just trying to literally wedge the whole magazine down the gullet of her throat.
Parker and Lambert turn up, and they start fighting him and beating on him and knocking him all over the room. And then his head comes off. His head just comes off and starts dangling, and first time Alien fan, I was like, what the bloody hell is that?
It's a damn android. It's all this milky substance stuff everywhere. You're like, what the... I mean, the clue was there, I guess, when he was starting to sweat milk. But then when you see his head all torn off, it's like, what the... Huh? There's androids in this universe? And that's what's the great thing about this film, is that first-time viewers, it's a nice surprise. It's like, you've had the alien ship, you've had the Facehugger, the Chestburster, the alien, and now robots.
Yeah. It's just on top. This whole sequence as well, I think, is absolutely brilliant, where they question Ash. And it's just Ian Holmes' head for a table. I mean, there's a quick edit between fake.
It's a quick jump cut, yeah.
But I always love that bit. You cannot avoid that even on Blu-rays.
No.
But just the whole conversation with him, and they're just like, how do we kill it? And he's like, you don't. You can't. You know, I know all about this. I've studied this thing, and I just... What's it he says? He admires its purity.
I love the fact that he says, you have my sympathies.
Oh, yeah.
It's just so... It just bites right to the point that you're fucked.
I can't lie to you about your chances, but you have my sympathies.
Yeah, and again, just carries on brilliantly. Ripley just turns to the two of them and she's like, right, that's it, we're gone. We're blowing up this whole fucking ship and we're just getting out of here.
Yeah.
And Lambert and Parker are like, yep, okay, we'll go off and get some coolant for the air system. You go prep the shuttle. She goes off, and you realise at this point, you've forgotten Jonesy. The cat.
Come on.
So Ripley runs around searching for the cat, and I always love that bit as well, is the fact that throughout most of the film, the cat's been here and there, but they were oh so ready to just run and would have just blown this cat to pieces. That Ripley, sacrifices her time to find the cat because she wants to save it, and then you have the audio from Lambert and Parker. The alien has turned up, and we now see how devilishly evil, strong this thing is, because it kills two characters at once.
Well, as an Alien fan, always had, growing up, I always had issues with this scene because the character of Lambert always infuriated me here, because I always believed, it's because I always placed myself in the film roles, these characters, that there would have been a chance for one of them to get away, at least.
Yeah.
And Lambert, though, I mean, as I've learned, with fear comes paralysis.
Yeah.
And when you have come face to face with a creature you've never seen before, it has killed your entire crew near enough, and it's now standing in front of you, you will be stood in absolute fear, petrification. And Parker's screaming at her, move out the way, I've got the flamethrower, I'm going to torch it. And she doesn't move, so he runs in to rescue her, and the alien just quickly spins round and knocks him flying with its tail.
Yeah.
And so Parker's ready to get back into the combat, but the alien just grabs him, picks him up, and it's just a 1-2. I like this, but at the same time I hate this, because the film lets the viewer do the work here.
Yeah.
You've already seen what the alien can do, what it's capable of, yet you see that tail very slowly move its way between Lambert's legs, and then it starts to raise up, and then it cuts back to Ripley, and we never go back there again, but we continue to hear Lambert screaming for about 15 seconds, and you can only devise in your own worst possible imagination what that alien is doing to Lambert.
It's horrible sound. I give kudos to Veronica Cartwright, just because her noise, her scream, her gargle is always stuck with me. Every time I sit down and watch Alien, it's that one point that, you know, sends chills up my spine, because you're just watching Ripley run, and you're wanting her to get there in time. You're wanting her to run in and flamethrower the alien and save everybody, but she just gets there after the audio is gone, and all you see is what, Lambert's hand or foot at a weird angle, and blood dripping, and Parker's just hunched over in the corner, and the alien is gone, and you're just like, get out of there, go, where is it, what the hell's it doing?
So we're about to get back into director's cut territory here. Now, the self-destruct system has been activated, Ripley's got Jonesy, and she's trying to leave the ship, and she wanders across Dallas again. And Dallas looks like he's sat in an egg. And at the same time, Brett is also what looks like Brett, possibly also in an egg. And they've got the secreted resin just falling over them, and he's there saying, kill me. And so Ripley tortures him and then runs off. Now, what really... I like the deleted scene for the original release. If they put that scene in the original film, it would have been fine, acceptable.
Yeah.
But Ridley Scott, I have an issue with you putting this scene back into your film, because Aliens, this film's sequel, had already been released and already continued what we would know as the evolution of the alien life cycle.
Yeah.
So having already have that knowledge in existence, the reason for him then to come in and change that in his original film kind of seems like a fuck you to the Alien fans. It really does.
Yeah, I always disliked this sequence with the Alien. Like we said, if it had been in the original theatrical edition, then obviously James Cameron might have taken the idea and established a bigger basis with it. But with the fact that, Aliens, Alien 3, and Alien Resurrection, the whole Alien life cycle up to the release of this deleted scene, cemented that the alien was kind of an insect. There is a hive basis, a queen, leading all the way down to this alien, which I always believed that this alien was a drone. Yes. A carrier, take the hosts back so more facehuggers go into it. But to take the hosts and take them back to its hive.
But we already know that Brett is dead as well, so it's using corpses.
Yeah, it's using corpses to break down to the egg and create a facehugger, which then the facehugger would latch onto another host. But then it kind of... There's no point then to... There's just no point then to the life cycle, because well, you might as well kill him to make more facehuggers, and then use the facehuggers to latch onto live people so that they become chestbursters. But then do you take the dead bodies of the chestbursting people and make more eggs? It didn't work, and obviously, like we said, it would have worked, maybe expanded from 1979. But the fact that they deleted it, it makes sense to delete it because you need something. You need something else. It is kind of fun seeing Dallas there saying "kill me" because obviously it would be replicated later on in the further films of all the other people saying "kill me" as well. But I also love the fact that bit of trivia here, my turn. The fact that Sigourney Weaver was almost killed in this sequence by firing the flamethrower at a mirror. They had a mirror set up for the special effect, and the fire rebounded and almost killed the lead actress. So Ridley Scott fired the special effects guy on the spot.
One of the main reasons why that scene was cut as well for pacing, because at this point Ripley was supposed to be the last person alive at this point, and the alien is loose, and she's running back and forth while the self-destruct is going off. So having her taking time out to deal with Dallas, even though the ship's going to explode anyway, doesn't really make too much sense. What also brings the question then, because I'm always curious about the alien life cycle, and just from Alien, is the alien xenomorph the same intelligence or the same soul, if you will, that was in the Facehugger? Or is it an entire entity? Is it like its child, or does the Facehugger then transport itself into the embryo, which is then regrown? Or are they two different entities? Because otherwise, you've got to think that the life of a Facehugger is pretty crap.
Well, no, I think it's kind of like we said with the whole insect thing. They're like ants. To the fact that the Facehugger is its own entity, but it doesn't, like Ash says, it doesn't have enough consciousness to have feelings and memories and all the things that obviously humans would obviously slightly take for granted. But it does retain information, information about its environment, about what's going on around it, because that information will then transfer into the Chestburster, and the Chestburster will be like, I need to find a dark place to evolve.
I always imagined it like a butterfly. It was like the caterpillar that but it was the same creature, even though it's absolutely different.
Yeah. And then obviously, with the alien has established all of this information from the Facehugger stage all the way through. So that's what makes it so brilliant, is the fact that it now has retained all this information, knows exactly who to take out, where to take out, It's just amazing. It's just amazing. I do want to bring up as well, before we get too far into this, Dan O'Bannon. Now, Dan O'Bannon, if you're unaware, was a writer and had worked in films already up to this point with John Carpenter and starred in Dark Star. And he had come up with the story for Alien. He didn't actually get any credit for this. Most of the credit goes to Ridley Scott. Most of the credit for Aliens and the rest of the series would go to the directors and the actors. And yet it was this man's idea where it all came from, Dan O'Bannon. I just bring that up.
And Dan O'Bannon has continued, even though to have a legacy in science fiction, both in good and bad films.
My favourite scenes, like I said, it's really difficult to have a scene for a film of this caliber, because it's like looking at a masterpiece painting and saying, which corner of the painting do you like? But I'm very, very finding it very, very hard to avoid the alien sequences themselves, and just any of the camera work detailing the inside of the Nostromo or the planet itself. Is just the actors, what makes them more human, what makes me feel for them more as the film goes on. I love the scene where Ash is prepping himself as Lambert, Cain and Dallas are going outside, and he's put on his little jumpsuit, and he kind of flexes his fingers and he does a little jog on the spot just to kind of get himself ready so he can sit down. He can sit down and start typing away. And I always just love that bit, because establishes that he's a very human character, and that's what makes his reveal as an android oh so more shocking. I also love the bit where, obviously, we've been following Parker and Brett, and they've been complaining pretty much since the beginning of the film, and they're dealing with the damage of the ship, and Ripley has come down to see them, and they're stood in a corridor, and there's just gas just venting all over the place, and they're trying to talk over it. And what I love about this film is that they're not afraid just to have the audio playing underneath the music, or sound in the background. And so Parker is arguing with Ripley over this smoke, and she's just like, "If you need me, I'll be on the bridge," and she just walks off, and then Parker just turns off the smoke.
Son of a bitch.
So you don't need to fix the ship.
And then he just goes, turns it back on again, and just carries on. I always thought that was fun.
For me, it just cements their characters, that they are just hang about lazy truckers in space. They're just like, yeah, we could have this done in 12 hours, but no, it's going to take about 24. Yeah. It's like, so they
space plumbers.
It is, so they just get all this extended break time that they get paid for because they're on the clock when they've got to fix it.
Yeah.
So it makes them feel human. It makes them feel like real characters. I'm not trying to pick my favourite alien moment in the film. But I can't help it. When Brett is wandering around the ship going, "Here, kitty, 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 kitty. Here, Jonesy." For me, it's just the most quotable part of the movie. Whenever I hear anybody doing that, I'm just waiting for the xenomorph to drop out of the sky. It's like its calling sign.
I'm always the same when I hear a cat hiss.
Yeah.
If I hear a cat hiss, I'm looking around like, where is it?
So I love the whole setup. It's the way that the cinematography of all of the entire film is fantastic, but for me, in this scene, it just really brings up the tension. The way it's shot, the way it's edited, the fact that he was with a group of 3, and even though they were told to stay together, he was sent off on his own to go and get the cat. And it kind of, nowadays, you just know he's on his own. He's gonna, you don't know how or when, and it just, the scene just really, really works for me. I guess my other favourite sequence is when Ripley when she goes in to talk to Mother, and the whole reveal occurs where she knows that the company is aware of this creature, that she is expendable, and her sort of transformation where she looks like she's having a breakdown. She's not coping with this information very well, which is why she tries to flee very quickly away from Ash, possibly to go and tell the others.
Yeah.
And I love the acting. I think that for me is just a very memorable moment in the film. I absolutely, wholeheartedly recommend Alien. It's not just a great horror movie. It's not just a great science fiction movie. It is a masterpiece in filmmaking. The music is brilliant. The editing is great. The acting is spot on. The pacing of the movie is very off. I will grant you that. For new audiences, or for audiences that have perhaps seen other Alien movies, coming back and watching Alien for the first time afterwards, it's going to be a letdown, because it doesn't have all of the action or huge set pieces that perhaps some of the later Alien films would have. What it is a slow-paced, claustrophobic, intense nightmare.
Yes.
And because I don't think this film has aged so badly at all, when you say it was made in 1979, you're like, really? Because this film looks absolutely beautiful. Every shot meticulous from start to finish. It is a real treasure of a movie, and I find it really hard to believe that anyone is unaware of the Alien legacy as it exists. If you've never seen the Alien films and you watch this review, go back, watch Alien, immerse yourself into this franchise, which is gonna be a bit of rough and tumble. Granted, this franchise definitely has its high points and its low points, but Alien It's right up there with one of the best films ever made within the genre.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. The first film is just, it's like going to the opera. You know, yeah, it's slow, but the music keeps you going. The acting is just on the ball. The special effects. If you're a sci-fi fan, you're gonna just fall in love with this film. If you're not a sci-fi fan, if you're not a horror fan, don't watch this film. It has nothing for you. But if those two things tick your boxes, this film will just it will put something inside you that will burst out.
Right.
3, 2, 1.
Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.
I can't lie to you about your chances, but you have my sympathies.